there is a lot to be said for what isn't said inside of companies, amongst employees, amongst those managers and leaders. Some might call it the unwritten rule book. And there is, it seems, more unwritten rules being written every day, especially because of the change and the acceleration that AI and just technology in general is bringing to us. So today on Great Mondays Radio, we have the incredible Robin Goad, who is a technology executive at Amazon Web Services. She's a speaker and author, change agent, and growth consultant. Has an incredible book called Girl by Birth, Woman by Fire. And we're going to talk to her today about her perspective on the unwritten, what she has called the unwritten rule book. We're going to talk all about what that means to her, how her years of experience leading technology companies has helped form that opinion, and how AI is either changing it or not. Robin Goad, welcome to Great Mondays Radio.
Thank you for having me, Josh. That when you read all that and say all that, it gets me a little nervous. I hope you
Don't
haven't set the expectations too
well,
high.
that's
Don't
my
believe everything you hear on Great Mondays. Right.
my job to make you look good, Robin. You don't need
All
much
right.
help. You have a lot of experience in corporate leadership. And also, as we were talking before we recorded a little bit about AI, you've been thinking about and working in AI for a long time. I thought AI just started 2 years ago, Robin, he says,
Well,
ironically.
well, everybody does, right? Everybody did. It's when I tell people that I started working for an AI, my first AI company in 2014.
Wow. Yeah.
People look at me and go, "What?" And I'll tell you the story behind it. So I was working at Dell at the time, and Dell was going to try to get into the cloud computing business. Now, there was this other little company, AWS, that had
Hmm.
already been just briefly
Briefly.
in
Yep.
the cloud computing world. And I had a CIO of a large global bank who told me, he said, Robin, this cloud computing thing, that's table stakes. He said, what is going to really be valuable and interesting for me is when we have industry specific clouds with industry specific AI embedded in that cloud so that all of us like minded citizens can make each other better, stronger, faster,
Mm.
because we'll all be using that industry specific AI. And as
Hmm.
soon as he started pitching me this idea, I started looking for AI companies that I could possibly go to work for. Now, I didn't know that there is such a thing as too soon
Yes.
in the market.
Too soon. Hmm.
I never knew that. I thought it was always don't miss the boat. I did not realize that there is such a thing as being too soon. But then the more I learned about AI, and I learned that it had actually been around since the 50s and 60s, um, I thought, well, that's that's not too soon, right? If it's
Yeah.
been around that long.
Yeah. 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 I have one of my mantras that I have learned is to understand the difference between a clear view and a short distance. And I feel that too, because all of a sudden you have this hit and you're like, this is the truth. And it might be real. It might be true, but it doesn't mean that it's relevant just yet. So
That's so
that's
true. That's
right. So
good. That's
that's
good.
right. So that's where I feel like we are. And when I'm thinking about your experience and what I want to learn today from you is what what has formed your kind of current perspective on leadership, how you lead, we introduced you with the unwritten rules, and I want to get to those. And what can the folks listening to this now who are leaders, maybe implicit, maybe explicit leaders inside of their organization, how, what can they learn about from you about the unwritten rules and how AI is really influencing the way that companies or teams are, business units are being run. So that's really what I want to try to get to today with you. That's what I want to learn.
Yeah, well, let's try to weave those two things together. Let's first start with the unwritten rules,
Go. Yep.
because even when you think about AI, AI is only there to make something that already exists better, faster, smarter, right? You can't, AI doesn't make something out of nothing. So let's start with the unwritten rules of corporate America,
Yeah.
and then let's talk about how AI might impact that. Does
Okay.
that sound like a
Beautiful.
good way to
Yep.
start? Okay.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, I did not realize I've been in corporate America for 32 years, and I did not realize that there is a rule book. It is unwritten, um, until probably my mid 40s. And I started seeing patterns of people that are um, successful, people that are getting promoted. And I had some conversations with executives along the way where I just point blank asked, like, what have you done
Yeah.
what did you do so right? And what have I done so wrong
How
that
come I'm
you're
not
the,
there? Yeah.
yeah, that you're the executive vice president and I'm just a regional sales gal, right? So let me tell you about the unwritten rule book. And these are just nuggets that I've put together of Robin's learnings of 30 years. So the first one is visibility is fuel. I mean, that is your fire. Your
Mm-hmm.
visibility is fire.
Mm-hmm.
You can know all the people in the organization, but if they don't know you, it doesn't mean anything. Perception, number two, is perception shapes reality. And so you have got to develop your narrative. What is the perception you want people to have of you? And how do you develop a strategy around that?
Is that kind of
Number
like,
three,
oh, sorry. Is that
yeah,
kind of
no, no, no,
like
go ahead.
dress for the job you want, but you're talking about not just your clothing, right? Like that's how I hear that.
Hang on. I'm sorry. Can you hear my dog barking?
Mm-mm, not at all.
Okay. I just wanted to be authentic. If you hear the dog barking, I
It's
was going to
totally fine.
mute my microphone.
No, no, no. It's totally fine. I don't hear it at all.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So what I mean is, um, the perception of you in the organization is reality. It isn't necessarily your title. It isn't necessarily the performance you're delivering. It
Mm,
is your narrative. You have got to have your narrative. It isn't just dress for success. It is my value statement to the
mm-hmm,
organization
mm-hmm.
is really how what I'm saying when I'm saying how your perception shapes your reality.
I love that. Okay, sorry. Thank you for clarifying. All right,
Yeah, yeah,
let's get
yeah.
back. Number three. Didn't mean to slow your
Play
roll.
mahjong, not chess. So you know how the old rule was play chess, not checkers.
Yeah.
Um, I like to say now, well, first of all, it's a popular game and all the
Yes.
women are out there playing
Yes.
it, right?
Yes, it is.
But it really is, you have to adapt fast. And I think that is the thing about corporate is you can have a game plan in your mind, but stuff happens, right? Things shift. You have AI enters the market. So you have to have adaptability
Mm,
in your strategy. Number
great.
four is pick your battles. Not every hill is worth dying on. And
Mm,
I actually quit a job. I quit. This was a bad corporate move I made. I was offered a position promotion and it wasn't the territory I wanted. And so I quit the job. I quit a company because I was willing to die on that hill, and that is not smart. You have got to choose your battlefields wisely.
yeah.
Document is
Yeah.
your armor. So if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. One of the things that I tell folks is you also want to mirror the documentation of your leadership. So, for example,
Mm,
my
mm.
leader sends out a weekly recap. Well, guess what I do? I send out a weekly recap. Guess what my boss's boss does? He sends out a weekly
Yeah.
recap. So not only will you forget, right? I mean, how many times have you heard an annual performance review isn't really an annual performance review? It's whatever happened in the last 60 days that your boss can remember right
That's
before the
right.
performance
That's
review,
right.
right?
Yep.
So really documenting your weekly recap is actually your way of documenting the entire year so that when you get to the end or
Mm.
whatever your cycle is, you've got all this documentation of what your team and you have actually accomplished.
So even if you're not a leader sending out what happened this week, you need to do it for yourself.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
even if you send it to your boss, I don't if you are an individual contributor
Here's what I did.
and here's what I did. Here's my weekly recap of the week. I mean, and this is part of this is that rule book. So you're like, that sounds kind of stupid or that sounds redundant. No, part of the rule book is playing the game. And so
Mm.
you want your boss to see you like they view themselves. Even if you're an individual contributor and you're not the leader of the organization, you want your boss to see, so you mirror their behavior. You mirror what they do. One of those things they do is document what's going on in the team. And it's also a way for you to create your narrative back to the point about your perception.
Yeah.
So if you're pretending, modeling, looking like what your boss is doing, then they start seeing you operating that way.
I like that. And what's interesting, and I wrote about this in my book. I observed the tendency of people to reflect what other people are doing. It's a natural human tendency, right? And if someone wears if your leader wears a tie, you're going to wear a tie. If they don't wear a tie, you're not. And what I think is even building on top of that is you are mirroring them explicitly, right? So my point in my book, in the book, was it's going to happen implicitly, but if you're explicitly doing it, what you're doing, you're signaling to them and building trust in a way. You're talking their language. You're reflecting, and what you just said is you want to act like they act so that they understand the language. They understand you're not pretending, you're doing your job of essentially positioning yourself in a way that they can hear.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that
And
makes
and
a
you've
lot of
also heard
sense.
people say, you know, do the job that you want, act like the job, show up for the job that you want, not the
Yep.
job that you have.
Yep.
And so if your boss is writing a weekly recap and I ultimately someday want that job, then they need to see that I also have the ability to write that weekly recap,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important. And then don't forget that perception is reality, right? I mean, we know that in our real personal lives, but that is
Yeah.
true in the corporate world as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
Number six is know the power map. And so this is not the org chart. Oftentimes, if you are a customer facing employee, you will make a power map of your customer, right? You'll say,
Mm.
here's my buyer, here's one of my key influencers,
Mm.
here's who's going to make the ultimate decision. Um, you map out all the different roles of all the different people that might
Mm-hmm.
influence buying
Mm-hmm.
decisions.
Mm-hmm.
When have you ever sat down and looked at your org chart internally and done the same thing? I promise you, not all people on that org chart, even if they're at the same row on the org chart, they are not all created equal.
Yeah.
Some people have the ear of the executive vice president. You will start to see whose name is mentioned. When the leader tells a story, whose stories are they repeating? You put a big star by that person's name because that person has influence. When the leaders get on stage at sales kickoff or annual year or monthly business review, whose stories are they telling?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a power player in the organization. So make an internal power map and figure out how do you align your narrative, your perspective, the value prop that you're bringing to the business How do you align what you're delivering to help them achieve their objectives? Because what you want to ultimately get is those power people on the org chart. You actually want to get them telling your narrative in rooms that you're not in.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I did this. We actually did this. A group of women. This wasn't my idea. I was just invited to play, and grateful that I was. But there was a woman who has an undergrad in mechanical engineering from Northwestern University and a master's degree in engineering from Cornell. And she got a group of us women together and she said, y'all, it has been proven that if we will align, we will speak the narrative, we talk other people's names in rooms they're not in. I promise you, we will all be elevated and promoted within a year. So we had about 10 women in our group, and we all said, okay, Robin Goad, here's the narrative I want spoken about me. And I would give like 4 or 5 bullet points, easy nuggets, right? Do you know, Josh, at my annual performance review, I got promoted and my narrative came back to me.
That's amazing.
My own narrative
How come I
that
didn't
I
think
fed the system. I fed the system.
it's
I
so
fed the
brilliant.
system what I wanted
Brilliant.
people to say about me.
Oh my gosh. Brilliant.
It were my boss. I sat there. I almost had to not laugh. I almost had to not chuckle
Yeah.
because I and the other thing we did is we had different people. So I was from the sales organization. That engineer lady I was talking about, she was from
Mhm.
the operations
Mhm.
organization,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? We had HR, we had biz ops, we had all these different A plus. Now, you can't let any people in your group that aren't A players because if you do, then you'll lose credibility.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we only invited A plus players into the group. But I almost started laughing when my boss was reading me my performance review at the end of the year because he just regurgitated what I had fed the system. And it
Incredible.
was I mean, it works. It works. I'm telling you.
That's so good. That's so good. So these all seem very perennial. What I'm these are all incredible and they still feel very relevant. Are there anything um, new? Are there any new rules that are starting to crop up with the ingestion of AI? And I'll acknowledge that, like you said, AI has been around for a long time, so we won't say the advent of AI. But what is different what appears different to me is that now organizations are bringing it in and attempting attempting to use it in ways that drive productivity, the bottom line, all that stuff. So using your kind of longevity of experience and visibility, the understanding that there are these unwritten rules, is there anything that has changed with those rules? Are there any new rules that are starting to show up either specifically for you at AWS or more broadly you've seen across the board?
Yeah, I think that if you are not utilizing AI, first of all, let's admit that if you're not using AI in your everyday life at work,
Yeah.
then then what are you doing? I mean, honestly, what are you doing? Because I mean, just for your own self, like just that I can now do an annual report, I can now do a quarterly business review, I can now do a PowerPoint presentation in a tiny fraction of the time that I
Yeah.
used to spend doing those kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, just for your own like
Productivity.
beneficial, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that was
Yeah.
wonderful,
That's almost
right?
like first level, right? Like let's start.
It
Let's start
is.
there. Yeah.
It is. But I can tell you that you need to start adding AI language into your talk track. So for example, I was doing a briefing the other day to my boss's boss leadership team, and I was explaining our strategic priorities for 2026. And I said, look, here's what I did in order to get these priorities aligned across the business. I took 12 different business plans, ingested all of those different business plans into AI, um, gave AI the information about what my team was doing to build the industry solutions that align, and it prioritized for me. So what I did is I used the data when I was presenting, here's what we're going to do, here's why we're going to do it. And by the way, AI is what told me how I was going to deliver the most bang for the buck for the business, right? I added that into my narrative so that if you don't start talking about it and start talking about how you're using it, it looks like you are old fixed mindset thinking.
You know,
And guess what? Nobody even like a year ago, if I
yeah.
would have had that conversation and I would have said, "Hey, I prioritize these 10 use cases," there would have been all these questions about, well, why did you prioritize that one over this one? Why did you do this? When I said that I ingested all of these business plans into AI, I aligned it to my business plan and it prioritized this for me. Not one question did I get about why did I prioritize these 6 over these 5.
Oh my gosh. It's almost an uh, hack, an evil, genius hack
It's
because
efficiency. I
it,
mean,
it it is
and it takes
efficiency,
out
but
the
but
human
we
it
know,
takes out the human bias. So in the
yeah,
old days, the reason that they would question me, Josh, is because there was always a guy around the table that wanted his stuff prioritized, right? It was, she didn't prioritize my stuff, she prioritized this other guy's stuff. And so when I'm like, look, I didn't make this decision to prioritize these 5 use cases.
yeah,
AI made the decision based on all the data you gave me.
right, right.
It's beautiful. They can't even
That's
say
amazing.
Robin's being biased.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, AI has its own biases, but I think for your purposes, I think here are it's a very
Correct.
effective tool. What
Correct.
strikes me as interesting is I remember a year ago, um, I did a little project, an experiment with AI for the podcast. I was reviewing like a year in review, and I basically was like, I'm gonna use AI to kind of identify some of the themes, and I talked about it within my own talk track within the podcast, and it felt a little controversial in a weird small way, where it's like it felt like at that moment people were not telling people that they were using AI. There was a little bit of a early on kind of a little bit of a shyness or a shame to it. But you're right. When you say it now, it strikes me as you need to be up at front and center and say, here is how I used AI. It is no longer a perceived weakness. Maybe we can argue whether that was ever true, but now we're evolved leadership and community and psychology of the kind of how we're using it has evolved in such a way that you actually must be talking about it as opposed to before I was going to hide it a little bit and just say, "Oh, I did this," because everybody thought, "Oh, he's taking a shortcut. He's doing it the quick, cheap way," right? But now it's like AI has built such credibility that you need to start to integrate it. You need to start to talk about how you're doing it.
I'll even give you a personal example. This isn't my own, corporate experience, but on a personal level, my son-in-law is about to finish his law degree. And when he started law school 3 years ago, he was given all of this information about thou shalt not use AI. If you use AI, you'll be flunked,
Mm-hmm.
you will be
Mm-hmm.
failed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward to this year, and not only has the entire narrative changed, that it is not only do we want to see the AI that you're using, but oh, by the way, we also want you to give us the prompts that you used in order to get this AI response because we really care about the prompts. And by the way, when you get out of school and you start working in the legal field, we believe there will be a day when lawyers will be at risk of malpractice because how do lawyers make money? They make money off number of hours billed. So if they are not using AI and they're charging you for 10 hours of work versus they're using AI and they're only charging you for 2 hours worth of work, then in that short window of him at law school, we were just talking about this the other day, it went from you have to sign a document that says you will not use any AI to okay, please use AI and also provide us the LLM that you're using and the
Yeah.
prompt that you're
We
using
want to
so
know
that
how you're doing it.
we
That's
want to know how
amazing.
you're doing it. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
All right. All right. Let's push the timeline forward. Let's cast our kind of vision out another 18 to 24 months. Now, I understand this is the big caveat. Who the hell knows what's about to happen? But
Yeah.
when we think about what you're seeing at work and what you understand about what AI is, what's possible with AIs and leadership and teamwork, can you pull together some just observations that you've made, and can you imagine what might change about how people are working? We're pulling it now back to culture. We're pulling it back to how people work. Let's just make some guesses. I won't hold you to them, Robin, but let's make some guesses. What are some possible futures about how the way that we work it will start to change?
Yeah, I think when you think of AI, what I think of when I think of AI today is just efficiency. It's it is just it's an efficiency play.
Yep.
So can I do more with less? Can I, maybe it isn't a reduction in headcount, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe it is a um we just increase scope and scale for existing headcount, right? Now you're expected to support, you know,
Mm-hmm.
30 people where
Mm-hmm.
last year you only supported 10 people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Mm-hmm.
you will continue to see that. I think that everything that can be automated will continue to be automated,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it should be all the low hanging fruit of work that nobody wants to do, stupid menial work anyway. So the things that can be automated should be automated, and we should allow the systems and the software to do that.
Do what they're supposed to
um
do. Yep.
and then we let people have that oversight. um I think it's just going to get better and better. I do still believe, and I believe this not because of I believe this because of my experience with AI in the past 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
is I do believe that you will still have a very hard time showing return on investment for your AI investment. And so before you can show that I'm going to spend $100,000 on this AI tool and it's going to give me a 10x. I've never worked for a company that hasn't requested a 10x
Right. That's
ROI for
table
every dollar
stakes.
spent,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so, well, how do you quantify? So right now today, it's interesting, it's fun. It is, but before you can do an ROI, you have to first know what were the original costs. And what I've seen is that people haven't been documenting that type of cost. So nobody comes to me and says, "Hey, Robin, how much time do you spend doing account plan, all the things that I'm going to automate?" Nobody has documented what is the value of that activity. So when it comes time 2 years from now to say, are we going to make these large language models are expensive, and they're going to be expensive when you start using them in corporate environments. These are expensive tools. And so I think that the, we have to work on the ROI, or else I'm afraid we will just run into another AI winter, because right now
That's yeah.
people are experimenting, and you know a lot of these AI companies are backed by investors right now. They're not being it's not the company isn't writing the big check. It's all being paid for
Yeah.
by venture
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you're gonna have to start writing big checks for this system that you're using.
Okay, so last year there was this study that was published. It was MIT that said most 95% of companies aren't getting the ROI on their investment. And you're arguing that the reason why that headline showed up is because you can't. We haven't, where that we don't
We
have
haven't
the
quantified. We haven't
quantified
quantified
what
the
we used to
data.
do.
Yeah,
Right. What exactly
that's
are you
right.
talking about? What do you
That's
mean? Like
correct.
speed of email written, number of emails written? Like
Exactly.
that doesn't mean anything.
That's it.
That's an interesting way to kind of, because that was such an incendiary headline. Everybody was like, well, oh, so much this bubble, AI bubble, that's it. But the truth is that I'm assuming you think that there is benefit, they just can't quantify it.
I do. I completely and I've run into that. And by the way, Josh, I can show you that exact same headline from 2015. We
um,
had
this
buttons
time's
made.
different, Robin.
We had buttons made that said no science projects with the Ghostbuster sign,
Yeah, yeah.
for this exact reason.
Hmm.
It's very hard. And if you haven't quantified how much time are people spending on emails?
Yeah. Right. Or even if that is valuable, right? Like, I mean, I guess yeah, that's so interesting. So what does that mean then? Let's then scope this down a little, and we'll wind the conversation up kind of here at a very practical level. If you are a leader of a team of 12, 10 to 15, you've got a small group that you're working with, and you have seats, you have licenses for this AI. And we're thinking about, okay, everybody learn, it's like do your experiments, get more efficient. What are you as the leader, like what are the first couple things that you're going to do to really make sure that we are, and I'll just put this in quotes, successful with AI? Like how do I in very practical terms, one, two, three, what are the ways that as a leader I can ensure that my team, or increase the odds that my team are going to be more successful? They're going to use AI to be more productive, not just to learn how to use AI.
Yeah, from in my role, what I care about is that my team is using AI to get the data that's out there for solving the customer problems that would normally take them literally, it would take you hours and hours and hours, days and weeks to be able to go look at. And now I can go get that information. So no longer is it going to be okay for my employees not to be able to answer a question when I say, what did so and so customers, shareholder report say about
Yep.
blank? It will no longer be okay. And if you don't, you won't be elevated. Like if you are as an employee are not able to say, I went and found out these five customers have this common problem set in their stockholder reports. This is what I'm seeing. I mean, you will not look as good
Mm.
and be taken as seriously as somebody that is doing that.
Table stakes
So
has been raised.
100%, 100%. So what I will be looking for is, um, can you, as an employee on my team, give me all that information? And if you can't, then we have a problem. Then how are you taking that information, even to go, who am I going to go talk to within the organization? You can find out like that, who
Mm.
the right people are within a company. That in the past, if you didn't have an insider, an inside track, you know, now you can, AI can figure out quickly who's the vice president of engineering making the decisions over this
Mm-hmm.
particular,
Mm-hmm.
program. All that information is out there. If you go take the 50 data sources, you put it together and it tells you, right? But as a human, you couldn't have possibly, or you wouldn't even have known to go connect all those dots. So your time to action is drastically reduced. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are a new team being assigned to a new client set, let's say, in within days, you should be able to tell me, here are the big problems that are going on in that industry, that customer, that
Mm-hmm.
that line of business.
Yeah.
Here are the people that I found that are going to care about it. And here are the top 3 ways I think we could get in to go have that type of conversation. That narrative would have taken months, if not quarters, and possibly
Yeah,
years
you're going to hire
to
a
be
big
able.
firm, research firm to figure that
Yeah.
out. Yep.
And now you can do that all by yourself. So
Yeah.
for you to be successful in corporate America, these are all the tactical technology tools and using AI, and
Hmm.
that's the path that we've talked about. And then take that and couple it with all the soft skills of the unwritten rule book, and
Mm.
you as humans are still, we still are humans, all of us making these decisions. We're still,
Until further
I have
notice.
to
Yep.
feel good about you, I have to like you, I have to
Yeah.
trust you,
Yeah.
right? All
Yeah.
those things. You
Yeah.
still have to play this game. You can't take the human factor out, because you still have to play this game. But the speed in which you can go from 0 to 100 from a productivity standpoint, it
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
it is light year. I mean, it is speed of light, literally.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to add on, I'm going to sort of expand on what you said, this automation piece, what automate what it could be, can be. It almost feels like if I were leading a small team, I would say, okay, next Friday, we're going to have an all day AI-a-thon in our little team. And I want you to, leading up to that, identify one automatable task, and that day we're going to experiment building agents to do that and then share it. So you're also learning about automation, you're learning how to do that. Like that to me feels like a
That's
really,
great.
I'm going to go right back to what you said, the win-win-win. We're going to learn, we're going to experiment, we're going to automate our work, and then when we do it again, it's like you're going to be incentivized. I'm going to incentivize you as a leader. I want you to automate this piece. I want you to think about how now you know how to do it. So that to me is like we talked
Brilliant.
about experience, speed, efficiency, this new information you can gather. And then the other track is kind of how do you use it to automate? And I guess what will leave our to be continued will be kind of what that next level is going to lead to. What is AI going to enable us to do once we're really good at gathering that data, ingesting it, synthesizing it, doing all that stuff that we used to outsource, and automate the easy stuff, the low hanging fruit? What then, right? Then we're going to be like, okay, great, what's next? How do we think about how our team runs and what we can provide as humans, and how AI can enable us to be better teammates or managers or leaders, or moving forward, right? Because these two conversations are about productivity, scope, scale. And so what
That's
then,
great.
right? That's kind of, for me, that's where I'm kind of standing on the edge of what's next, and thinking what then.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's all the stuff that anybody that's afraid of I think that's where they've already leapt, right? They've already gone to this, all the possibilities of what AI is going to do versus the reality. And
Mm,
so, I think that what's next is where we'll have to, I think the ethical AI, the responsible AI, right? I think
mm-hmm,
all of that
mm-hmm.
is over there. I think we're still over here in the baby step piece. And I hope that we don't, I honestly really hope we don't have another AI winter. And if we do have another AI winter, I don't think it will be as drastic
Yeah, it doesn't feel
as the
like it.
previous.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be as drastic as the previous, because people are slowly, um, things that you would have thought 10 years ago, people would never give up all this data in order to get, oh yeah,
Right.
they will. They'll give
Oh,
up
they
tons
oh
of
they
data.
will. Oh, they will.
Yeah, they will. So,
Amazing.
it's exciting. It's an exciting time. I love it. My kids and my husband, we talk about AI a lot, just in a family narrative when the kids are over. And we'll get people call. A cousin of mine called the other day and said, what do you think I should have my son do? He's just getting out of high school. What kind of jobs do you think? I mean, I think these are all really great conversations,
Yeah.
um, to be having. And it isn't it's AI plus human. It's,
Not
we
AI
are
replacing
so far
human. Yeah.
away. We are so far away from, AI replacing us.
Yeah.
Um, but it is AI plus human for sure, at least for the
Mm.
next my lifetime, probably.
AI plus human. Robin Goad, technology executive at AWS, Amazon Web Services. She is a speaker, author, change agent, growth consultant, incredible AI history professional, and futurist. It has been amazing to have you on Great Mondays Radio. You can learn more about Robin at therealrobingoad.com. Thank you so much. You've got a lot of great stuff on LinkedIn too, so folks can look for you there. I there's a lot of you post a lot of really great stuff there. So I really appreciate your sharing your knowledge and allowing to push a little bit on this conversation so I can learn more. I'm super interested in all this stuff and your perspective I think is so valuable. So thank you, Robin, for
Thank you.
coming on Great Mondays Radio and sharing some of your hard earned wisdom.